I'd like to call the Lordstown Village Council Special Council meeting to order. Bill, if we could have roll call.
Mayor Hill.
Present.
Mr. Bond. Here. Mr. Liming. Present. Mr. Radka. Present. Mrs. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Shearer. Here. Mr. Reeder.
Present.
Clerk Blank. Present. Solicitor Paul Dutton.
Present. Okay, entertain a motion for adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Radka, second. Second by Bond. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mayor's remarks. This is something which has been in the works for quite a while. The rumor mill and everything is running amok. I will tell you, when Mr. Mansell and I first met with Clean Energy Futures, and this was proposed immediately after the first meeting, we did notify the school board and let them know what was coming down the pike, much in contrast to what's being spread around the village. Everybody wonders, well, why do you have to give 100% abatement? We did try to negotiate that down due to the fact that utility companies do pay tangible personal property tax on their equipment, contrary to everybody else like General Motors or Metalco or someplace like that, which now do not. That was the only proposal we could bring forward. And if we didn't bring it forward, they'd probably be right next door or right down the street. Once this proposal came forward to Village Council, they were all aware of what's going on. Clean Energy Futures, care of Bill Siderwitz, did talk with the school board and the superintendent. And we were out of it after that. You know, so if anybody wants to criticize and say, well, why is council passing 100% abatement? You know, people say, well, can't you bring one stepped in? They weren't going to agree to that. So now, when it became on the school board's pocket, they're the ones who got a donation agreement with Clean Energy Futures. We did not negotiate any of that. That is strictly between the school board and Clean Energy Futures. And we are here tonight to pass this. I'm glad we are. It's been a long time coming. There are still a couple things which have to be resolved on Clean Energy Futures end, such as when they had the power plant, the Ohio Power Siting Board approval, there is a 30-day waiting period. And I believe the 30-day waiting period will be over November 4th or November 5th. It's 30 days from whenever that was said. And there's a couple other small issues, but I believe we will be well on our way to getting the second power plant. I'd like to see this passed this evening. I'm sure everybody else would, as would the school. Thank you. That's it for the mayor's remarks. Are there any council remarks?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say that, you know, I do not like 100%. I don't like any abatements. I wish they were outlawed on the federal level, but there's something we have to live with, and I know that the state encourages us to give those, but I think it's time for the state to pony up and decide how they're going to support the schools then.
Are there any other council remarks?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to make a comment on a question that was brought up to me a few times about why we didn't bring this abatement in at our last council meeting. And just to let everybody know that at our last council meeting, we did not have it on our agenda because we didn't receive it back from TCTC, which has to approve it after Lordstown schools do. So we didn't have time to have it on our Monday's agenda for that last meeting. So that's why we called a special meeting tonight to have it put on the agenda. So if there's any rumors going around why it wasn't on there, that was the reason why.
Thank you. Are there any other council remarks?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I have to agree with Karen. I don't like to see 100% abatement. I am going to be voting for this. The school board wants it. I'm not going to try to block it like that. But I don't really like 100% investments. When you tell me that the return profit-wise, they estimate will be 150 or 200 million a year, that's a 15 to 20% return on investment. Yet they're going to pay no property tax for 15 years. I think they run into the danger of, it appears to a lot of people, they're actually subsidizing the larger businesses. I just don't think it's quite fair to our residents on existing businesses that are already here. And that's my feeling on it.
Any other council remarks? Hearing none, are there any public remarks? Hearing none, Bill, purpose of this special meeting. Lordstown Village Council will conduct a special council meeting on October 25th, 2017 at 6:00 p.m. to consider the following legislation. Mr. Blank.
From Finance Committee for emergency passage, an ordinance authorizing the Village of Lordstown, Ohio to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Clean Energy Future, Trumbull LLC for a tax exemption of 100% for a period of 15 years on the increase in assessed value in real and tangible personal property and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions?
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules by Radka. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Reader. Roll call, please.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes?
Mr. Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Reader,
Yes.
Mr. Radka,
Yes.
Mr. Shealy.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays. Motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Shealy. Second.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Reader. Comments?
Yes, on page 27, right at the top of the page, it says that in the event that the district be dissolved, merged, or consolidated with another school district, the balance of any payments due under the agreement shall be assigned and paid over to the village as they become due. Is that what the school board passed? So what do we do with that?
I don't know. Would have been if that was an issue, it would have been nice if somebody would have made a motion to amend if they knew about this. That could have possibly been amended, unless somebody wants to take back their motion and their second, which they possibly can. But you can't amend when there's also a motion on the floor to adopt.
I'll take the motion then.
You didn't give me anything. Come back to the people who made it.
Mr. Shealy withdrew his motion. Mr. Reader, will you withdraw your second?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any motions to amend?
Yes, I thought that that was to stay somehow with the students, and I'm not sure how it was worded, but it was my understanding that that would stay with the students from the school district.
School district.
Do you want this paragraph or this sentence deleted? Is that what council wants? Or do you want something else?
I think that we need to keep that in there, but in the event that the district be dissolved, merged, or consolidated with another school district, that the balance of any payments due under the agreement shall be assigned, shall remain with the students of the village of Lordstown, wherever they're going.
Well, that's a very complicated concept to put into this document at this point in time. Those students could go to a parochial school. Those students could go to a charter school. Those students could go to an open enrollment school. What this sentence says is that if the district, and keep in mind your agreement is with the Lordstown School District, not the individual students. So if the district is merged or consolidated, that this stream of payments would follow the district, not follow the students. So if the district merges with Newton Falls, then the Newton Falls Joint School District would be the beneficiary of this agreement. But if a lot of things can, this is speculation, if the school district became insolvent, like the Youngstown City Schools, and came under some kind of fiscal management situation, then these payments would flow with whatever results from that relationship. So the question is, what does council want? We can always amend this now, but
Okay.
adding language at this point in time creates difficulty when you don't know what the circumstances are likely to be. But just following the students becomes very
All
problematic.
right, the way the school board's information reads is, in the event of a merger or consolidation of the district, the payments due will continue to be paid to the merged or consolidated entity should it, A, retain or locate any school buildings in the current geographical boundaries
46.
that are attended by residents of the village, or B, retain the name Lordstown in whole or in part in the naming of the merged or consolidated entity.
It's on page 46 of our packets, to make it easier for everybody up there. Paragraph 8.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes, that's the one that I read and thought that was passed there, and this was going to be there or that.
I worked with Mr. Dutton and Peggy Miller in his office, and all I was told was about the income tax. And that's all we worked on. And when things get ran through, like they're trying to get ran through tonight, this is what happens.
I think we could.
Yeah, you need to
Take it out.
explain to the audience that we're talking about the donation agreement here. We're not talking about the income tax sharing agreement.
Or the abatement. This is strictly the donation agreement, and due to the fact that this is addressed on another part, we could possibly take this sentence out.
Yeah.
Let's just, because if it's addressed on page 40, on the
Six.
tax donation agreement on page 46, this could be taken out.
okay?
I mean, the village is a party to the tax incentive donation agreement. This language is in the tax incentive donation agreement,
Okay.
Which is attached to this ordinance.
which is attached to this ordinance.
Right.
Well, this is in contrary to what's back on page 46 then, so I suppose it should be removed.
It would have been nice if this would have been brought up before we had a motion on the floor, but if council would like to move it, if somebody wants to make the motion to just remove this sentence,
Yeah,
feel free.
We were only notified on Monday, right, Bill, that there would be a special meeting and that this legislation had to be prepared. And no one brought this to our attention. So what is your pleasure?
I'd like to make a motion that we remove item number 7.
On what page?
It begins on page 26 and it continues on page 27.
Okay. So where would it begin?
Page 26, she's saying,
Right here.
take this.
Full
She wants to
The
take it.
entire paragraph?
Well,
You read it, see if we
What do you
should.
think?
Well, this is another tax incentive. In other words, what's happening here is that our tax incentive donation agreement that we're passing is different from the one that the school board passed in this respect. Is there any other differences?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Why don't you do this? Why don't you just take the last sentence out and read in the language? In other words, take the paragraph and replace the entire paragraph so that it mirrors what the...
With what's on paragraph 8 of page 46?
Exactly.
Okay,
So you're going to have to speak slowly because we're dealing with a tape recorder here, and speak loudly.
all
So
right.
someone needs to, first of all, make a motion to suspend the rules.
We did that.
We did.
And you
Yeah,
voted
we-
to suspend the
Yes.
rules.
They're suspended, there was a motion to adopt, and then it got reversed because the motion and second were withdrawn, and now there is
Now someone needs to make a motion
to amend.
to
Okay.
amend the tax donation agreement at page 25 by deleting,
26.
26, by deleting the entirety of paragraph 7, and someone should read paragraph 7 that's being deleted. And then to substitute therefore what's contained in page, what is it, 46? And then read that verbatim.
Okay. I'll make that motion that we remove paragraph 7 from the donation agreement that reads, "This donation agreement is not transferable or assignable without the express written approval of the district, which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld. Any such assignee of the donor shall expressly agree to be bound by this donation agreement as though it were a party to it, and shall assume all of the donor's obligations under the donation agreement. In the event that the district be dissolved, merged, or consolidated with another school district, the balance of any payments due under the agreement shall be assigned and paid over to the village as they become due." I want that.
Okay.
We'll strike that, and then we'll add the language from paragraph 8 on page 46, which reads, "This agreement is not transferable or assignable without the express written approval of the parties, which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld. Any such assignee of the donor shall expressly agree to be bound by this agreement as though it were a party to it, and shall assume all the donor's obligations under this agreement. In the event of a merger or consolidation of the district, the payments due will continue to be paid to the merged or consolidated entity should it A, remain or locate any school buildings in the current geographical boundaries that are attended by residents of the village, or B, retain the name Lordstown in whole or in part in the naming of the merged or consolidated entity."
They need a second.
I'll second that.
I'll make a second. Karen presented her motion to amend
Amend and substitute.
and substitute. Comments or questions on the amend and substitute? Hearing none, Bill, roll call.
Mr. Reader,
Yes.
Mr. Radka,
Yes.
Mr. Shealy,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Bond,
Yes.
Mr. Lyman.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt the amendment and the substitution. Are there any other surprises before we ask for a motion to adopt? Hearing none,
I'll make a motion we adopt
motion by Mrs. Jones to adopt.
Adopt as amended.
as amended.
There you go. Is there a second to that motion?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Reader. Comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Bond,
Yes.
Mr. Reader,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Radka,
Yes.
Mr. Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Shealy.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. Ordinance 60, 2017. Next, please.
On Finance Committee for Emergency Passage, an ordinance authorizing the Village of Lordstown to execute an enterprise zone income tax sharing agreement with the Lordstown School District for the Clean Energy Future Trumbull LLC project and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion for emergency consideration, please.
Motion by Bond for suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Radka. Roll call, please.
Mr. Shealy,
Yes.
Mr. Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Radka,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Reader,
Yes.
Mr. Bond.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Shealy, second. Second by Jones. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Bond,
Yes.
Mr. Radka,
Yes.
Mr. Shealy,
Yes.
Mr. Reader.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. Ordinance 61, 2017. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Reader, second.
Second.
Second, Lyman. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, you did good. You was on your game.